Imagine it, not as a dream but as your new reality. One moment, you're in your world of glowing screens and background hums. The next, you're on your back, the coarse grass of an African savanna scratching your skin. You are naked, utterly alone, and 50,000 years in the past. There is no shelter, no comforting flicker of fire, no tools of any kind. There is only you, your 21st century mind, and an ancient world that is actively, indifferently trying to kill you. Could you truly survive for a single day? We often escape into fantasies of a simpler time. Millions of us watch nature documentaries, go on camping trips, and dream of a rugged, self-sufficient life, imagining ourselves as noble hunter-gatherers thriving off the land with nothing but our wits. We romanticize the Paleolithic, viewing it as an escape from modern complexity. But this is a dangerous illusion. The reality of that life was a relentless, brutal struggle, far harsher than any survival show could ever portray. Modern archaeology and anthropology are peeling back the layers of this fantasy, revealing a world where our ancestors faced daily challenges that would overwhelm and crush most of us within hours, if not minutes. As the Smithsonian Institution's Human Origins program highlights, our predecessors navigated environments filled with astonishing challenges, where they were perpetually vulnerable to disease, severe injury, and, most pressingly, predators. The critical question isn't about your grit or your toughness. It's about whether your modern brain, soft body, and disconnected instincts could possibly adapt before the Paleolithic world claims you as just another casualty. Your first, most immediate challenge wouldn't be the gnawing hunger or the creeping cold. It wouldn't be the intellectual puzzle of making fire or finding food. Your first challenge would be simply staying alive for the next 10 minutes. The world you've woken up in is teeming with creatures that view you as a meal. Your anxiety, that nagging feeling you get in a dark alley, was forged here for a very good reason. Our ancestors were constantly on the menu. Research on evolutionary predators paints a terrifying picture. You're not just dealing with lions and leopards. You're in a world of spotted hyenas, which are known to prey on primates, including humans in certain regions. Worse, you could encounter their extinct, monstrous cousin, the short-faced hyena, Pachycrocuta brevirostris. This beast was the size of a lioness, with a skull and jaw so powerful it could fully envelop a hominid's head and crush bone like chalk. Every shadow that dances, every rustle in the tall grass, every distant snap of a twig is a potential death sentence. Your fight-or-flight response would be screaming, but your senses are tragically dull. Anthropologist Clint Janulis of Oxford University points out a critical, fatal gap. Hunter-gatherers grow up from birth learning to track and observe. They become masters of reading the subtle nuances of animal behavior, a language that is completely alien to someone raised in a modern city. While you stand there, squinting at a distant shape, trying to decide if it's a boulder or a lion, a Paleolithic human would have already seen it, identified it not just as a lion but as a hunting lion, noted the direction of the wind, calculated 3 different escape routes, and already be moving toward the safest one. Your life would hang on the thread of learning faster and more desperately than you ever have before. Assuming you survive the first hour, the setting sun introduces your next desperate priority: shelter. Archaeological digs show that our ancestors were masters of finding and using natural shelters. They knew which overhanging cliffs would provide the best protection from wind and rain, and which caves offered defensible positions. But caves were prime real estate, and you're the new, unwelcome arrival. A good cave was likely already occupied, not just by other humans who might not take kindly to your intrusion, but by cave bears or hyenas. But the cruelest irony for a modern human is this: even if you found a location, you lack the knowledge to make it safe or habitable. In colder climates, early humans built sophisticated shelters using the massive bones of woolly mammoths as frames, or constructing insulated homes from snow and ice. You, on the other hand, would be attempting to reinvent basic architecture from scratch, all while the deadly chill of hypothermia begins to seep into your bones. The creation of even rudimentary protection requires tools you don't have, an intimate knowledge of materials you can't identify, and a set of skills that took our ancestors millennia to develop and perfect. We know from remains like the 5,000-year-old Iceman, Otzi, that sophisticated clothing was possible. He wore an expertly stitched coat of goat and sheep hide, form-fitting leggings, and complex shoes made from woven grass, tree fibers, and deer hide. This wasn't fashion, it was advanced survival technology. Without it, you are exposed and vulnerable. Every night you spend without adequate fire, shelter, and clothing isn't just uncomfortable. It's a gamble against death, bringing you one step closer to becoming just another fossil in the unforgiving Paleolithic landscape. If you somehow survive the night, huddled in a crevice, shivering and terrified, you awaken to a world where comfort is a distant memory and survival is a full-time job. Your next monumental task is creating fire. In our world, fire is a convenience. In the Paleolithic, it was the very technology that separated life from death. Evidence from sites like Kubi Fora in Kenya demonstrates that fire was essential. It allowed hunter-gatherers to stay warm, to make their food safe and digestible, and to keep the terrors of the night at bay. But the pop culture image of casually rubbing two sticks together is a cruel lie. Making fire from scratch is a masterclass in primitive engineering. As anthropologist Brian Fagan explains, Ice Age humans didn't just find fire. They devised sophisticated tools and strategies to create it. You would need to master a friction-based method like the bow drill or hand drill. This requires finding the perfect combination of wood, a hard, straight spindle and a softer hearth board. You'd need to carve a precise notch in the board to collect the hot dust that will become a coal. You'd need to find the right tinder, a fluffy, bone-dry material like amadou fungus, cattail fluff, or cedar bark that can catch that tiny, fragile spark of heat and nurse it into a flame. This process requires not only immense technical knowledge but also grueling physical endurance. Modern experiments show that even seasoned survival instructors, under ideal conditions, can struggle for hours to create a fire. Now, imagine attempting this with numb fingers, an empty stomach, and the sound of hyenas calling to each other in the distance. Your ancestors didn't just learn a trick. They mastered a foundational art form that kept the flame of human existence from being extinguished. Even with a fire, the gnawing emptiness in your stomach becomes an urgent scream. Hollywood shows us lone, brawny cavemen heroically taking down mammoths with a single spear throw. This is pure fantasy. Real Paleolithic hunting was a complex, coordinated science that modern humans are entirely ignorant of. As Clint Janulus clarifies, the greatest lost skill isn't a single technique but the entire culturally and generationally developed subsistence pattern specific to an environment. You don't have this pattern. You don't know which animals migrate, when, or where. You can't read their tracks. Fossil records from France reveal an incredible strategy. Ice Age hunters would use strategically built fires in the spring and fall to funnel entire migrating herds of wild horses and reindeer into narrow valleys. There, the animals could be safely and efficiently killed at close quarters, providing a massive bounty of meat that was then preserved for the coming months. This wasn't a random act of luck. It was a highly organized, communal harvest that was successfully repeated for tens of thousands of years. But hunting was only one piece of the puzzle, and often an unreliable one. The daily sustenance for many groups was gathered, not hunted. A 2016 study in Israel showed that early hunter-gatherers had a remarkably diverse diet, consuming as many as 55 different types of plants. This knowledge was a botanical encyclopedia, passed down through generations, where every family member learned to identify edible roots, leaves, and fruits. For you, this encyclopedia is a closed book. The landscape is a minefield of potential poisons. Getting it wrong had deadly consequences. Research shows the seeds of the jaquirity bean look appealing and tasty. Unfortunately, they contain abrin, one of the most lethal botanical toxins known to science. One uninformed choice, one moment of desperate hunger, and your prehistoric journey ends not with the roar of a lion, but with a silent, agonizing death from poisoning. While you're obsessing over the visible threats, a legion of microscopic predators is already mounting an attack. It's a common misconception that infectious diseases are a product of agriculture. Recent genetic analysis suggests that many human-specific pathogens actually originated in the Paleolithic era. DNA extracted from the 32,000-year-old teeth of ancient humans has revealed the presence of pathogens, likely circulating in their blood. Without modern medicine, Without even the most basic antiseptics, a simple cut from a sharp rock or thorn could easily become a raging, life-threatening infection. Parasites were also a constant companion, shaping our very evolution. Research indicates that our immune systems co-evolved with parasitic worms to such a degree that our modern, sanitized bodies may suffer from their absence. Your 21st century immune system, while adapted for contemporary germs, might be catastrophically ill-equipped to handle this ancient onslaught. Even the simple act of quenching your thirst is a mortal risk. Paleolithic humans knew which water sources were safe and which were contaminated. You do not. Every sip from a stream could introduce deadly bacteria and parasites, turning the life-giving act of drinking into a fatal gamble. Having survived the immediate threats of predators and the slow, creeping dangers of starvation and disease, you are confronted with a stark realization. You cannot make it alone. Your only hope, your single, desperate chance for survival, lies in the very strategy that allowed our ancestors to rise from vulnerable primates to masters of the planet: cooperation. Throughout the Paleolithic, hominins banded together in small societies, typically bands of 25 or fewer people, often centered around family groups. In a world where survival was a constant struggle, cooperation was not just helpful. It was absolutely vital. These groups were not chaotic mobs. They were sophisticated social units where members recognized individual differences in ability and used them strategically to benefit the whole. But this realization presents you with a terrifying new problem. As you approach a small band of these ancient humans, seeing the smoke from their fire as a beacon of hope, how do they see you? You are a total liability. You arrive with no skills, no knowledge, and no tools. You are another mouth to feed who cannot help hunt, cannot identify edible plants, cannot nap flint into a useful blade, and cannot tan a hide to make clothing. According to experts, your best chance would be to find and join an existing group of hunter-gatherers, hoping they are willing to adopt a clueless newcomer. But this would require extraordinary luck. You would be a helpless adult, a burden on a community whose margin for error was razor-thin. Your survival would depend on their charity and your ability to learn at an impossible rate. The most profound gap between you and them is not physical, but mental. It's true that the basic structure of the human brain has remained essentially unchanged for tens of thousands of years. You possess the same intellectual hardware, the same potential for creativity and problem-solving that they did. The crucial difference is the software. Their minds were programmed from birth with an encyclopedia of practical knowledge. Ice Age humans collected and transmitted vast amounts of information about the seasons, animal migrations, plant properties, and weather patterns through intricate art, music, and oral storytelling. The breathtaking cave paintings at sites like Lascaux and Chauvet were not mere decoration. Many archaeologists believe they served as complex instruction manuals. As Brian Fagan notes, the detail is so precise that when wildlife biologists examine the paintings, they can tell you what time of year it was painted just from the appearance of the animal's hides and skins. Their understanding of their environment was, by our standards, absolutely incredible. Your modern brain, programmed for navigating social media feeds and urban street grids, is a blank slate in this world. Ultimately, your modern life has been a trade-off. Your potential advantages, like a body nourished by modern nutrition, are rendered meaningless by the immediate pressures of starvation and resource scarcity that they constantly faced. Meanwhile, your weaknesses are brutally exposed. Modern life has systematically atrophied the very skills that kept them alive: the keen observational powers, the deep environmental awareness, and the sheer physical conditioning. As Clint Janulus explains, an urbanized modern human would not only be fighting a lack of knowledge but also a lack of skill, observational powers, and awareness, which would likely lead them to grossly misplaced priorities and efforts. We have traded our ancestors' individual capabilities for a profound technological dependence. They could navigate hundreds of miles using stars and landmarks. You can order food with an app. When stripped of that technology, you are left helpless. So, could you make it as a caveman? The honest answer is almost certainly not. But that is not a judgment of your character. It is a testament to how profoundly we have reshaped our existence. Our ancestors were not simple brutes. They were innovators who adapted and ultimately conquered every environment on Earth. Their large, creative brains helped them devise tools and strategies to survive in climates that would kill us today. They endured ice ages, faced down saber-toothed cats, and built the very foundation of civilization with nothing more than stone, wood, and raw determination. You are the descendant of the greatest survival champions in Earth's history. We have traded their rugged, individual toughness for collective knowledge and immense technological power. They endured so that we could thrive. The fact that you would fail in their world highlights the security and comfort of the world they enabled. In understanding their incredible struggles, we gain a deeper appreciation for both our remarkable heritage and our extraordinary present. The real question, then, is not whether you could survive in their world. It is how you will choose to honor the incredible legacy they left behind in yours.